Cast your minds back to the long-forgotten era of 2004. It's a wondrous time. The Red Sox have just won the World Series and broken the curse of the Bambino. Facebook has just launched, revolutionizing how we interact with each other online. And a guy in Colorado took a souped-up bulldozer on a spree of destruction. It's a weird year. In addition to all of those things, 2004 was also a banner year for the film industry. Many a beloved movie saw its release then, including Shrek 2, The Passion of the Christ, The Incredibles, Spider-Man 2, and of course the timeless classic Shark Tale.
True story.
These movies have cemented their place in cinematic history, but 2004 also featured a lesser-known but equally deserving picture. In fact, it's a far more ambitious project than any of the others I've mentioned. And it's actually pretty rad. Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow, in addition to having a really cool name, is a very interesting movie. There was absolutely nothing like it at the time, and it's striking even today. Boasting an ensemble cast, a popcorn plot, and some phenomenal music, Sky Captain doesn't get the love it deserves, but I'm here to tell you why. Before we fully dive into things, let's talk about the movie's creative driving force, Kerry Conran. Conran, a graduate of the California Institute of Arts, absolutely loved old black and white adventure movies and found that that sense of escapism and whimsy was lost in modern movies. He felt that Hollywood needed to find its heart again. Conran decided to inject new life into the cinematic landscape and was eager to experiment with new techniques to do so. This especially applied to animation, which he felt was a better medium to fully realize his creative vision, unhindered by shackling concepts such as reality and the laws of physics. And honestly, this is such an awesome take. Animation has long been considered a childish mode of expression, reserved only for cartoons to make your kids shut up for a bit so you can focus on your ever-increasing bills amid an intense housing crisis. I had a fun childhood. It wasn't until fairly recently that filmmakers have started to tap into the power of animation to deliver gripping, emotionally complex narratives. After spending so long fighting to be taken seriously, it's refreshing when members of Hollywood give the world of animation and CG the respect it deserves. We're in a better place now than we were, with works like Love, Death, and Robots, the Spider-Verse movies, and literally anything by Studio Ghibli, making animation a much more respected avenue of filmmaking, but it's nice to know that guys like Robert Zemeckis, Ralph Bakshi, and Conran were ahead of the curve in that regard. Anyway, Conran decides that he wants to create the movie of his dreams, a film using actors but shot entirely with CG backgrounds and set pieces. It'll be an homage to old Hollywood, and it'll invoke that same sense of adventure that he had when he went to the theater as a kid. His vision begins with a 6-minute teaser that he makes by himself in his literal living room over a period of 4 years. That is dedication. Unfortunately, no major studios picked up the film, but that didn't deter our boy Kerry. No way. Instead, he linked up with producer John Avnet. The two of them combined their powers and managed to turn a month's work of shooting into a fully finished film. That's time management action, baby! Despite its modest beginnings, the movie actually has its share of A-list actors involved. In starring roles, we've got Watson, Goop Lady, Grendel's mom, the bad guy from Ted, the bad guy from Samurai Cop 2, and a dead guy. Jude Law is our titular Sky Captain, a badass fighter pilot that owns a fucking sweet bomber jacket and flies a steez-out World War II fighter plane. He's a very competent lead and plays his part pretty well, but I'm here to tell you that this guy right here is the star of the show. Look how cool it is. Gwyneth, which is a Lord of the Rings name if I've ever heard one, Paltrow plays diligent reporter Polly Perkins. She's obsessed with finding her story, and oftentimes puts herself in dangerous spots to get the right shot or angle. Paltrow was excited about the opportunity to portray the character of Perkins, as it was a natural fit for her to play the part of a lady who makes questionable decisions detrimental to others in the name of media recognition. These two team up to go on a globe-spanning adventure to uncover a mystery surrounding missing scientists, giant robot attacks, and a mini elephant. I won't get into the story specifics here, but it really is a slice of pulp action straight out of an old comic book. They're joined by a fun group of backup characters, each having their own unique personalities. Giovanni Ribisi's Dex Dearborn is a likable nerd sidekick, Omid Jalili adds a bit of comedy as their charismatic guide Kaji, and Angelina Jolie is basically a superhero, even if her screen time is pretty limited. She's basically the leader of 1940s S.H.I.E.L.D. in England. Call her Chick Fury. Each of these characters is interesting in their own way, even if they don't change or mature much over time. In fact, many have said that the film's story is its most obvious pitfall, and, well, they're kinda right. Look, I'll be subjective here. And yeah, the plot is undoubtedly the movie's weakest element. It's a bit by the numbers, especially by modern standards, and it's true that you won't find deep, complex, narrative-driven character development over its svelte 106-minute runtime. What you will get is a very straightforward adventure flick that doesn't overstay its welcome. And here's a hot take, that's perfectly fine with me. I mean, I know the way of modern Hollywood is to make these gigantic 3-hour-long epics with production budgets in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Here, though, we have a movie that's perfectly happy just being itself. Remember when we could just go catch a flick for like an hour and a half, nice and easy? Not to sound all boomery, and I'm sure it's too late for that, but I kind of miss that. Of course I appreciate the time spent in fantastic films like Oppenheimer and The Return of the King, but did the story of the Eternals really need an afternoon to be told? And yo, don't come for me, I'm a Marvel fan, I'm just saying. All that to say that I think there's something kind of nice about this very surface level adventure. Sometimes it's nice to be able to just plop into your comfy chair, fire up some popcorn, and have yourself an easy watch. If you enter it with that mindset, I think this movie does exactly what it needs to. Is that too simplistic of you? I mean, probably. But I did just get done editing a video that features my friends and I trying to name South Park woodland critters. So, I mean, that's on you if you're holding me to a higher standard. But yeah, the story of Sky Captain is not the main attraction here. That honor goes to the striking visuals, which gives the movie an incredibly distinctive look that largely holds up even 20 years later. Conran sought to capture a similar look to those old black and white movies that he loved so dearly, but did so purely by way of sound stages and utilization of CGI. Looking back on it, it's pretty wild to see how common this practice is now. In 2004, the thought of green screen backgrounds and unseen sets was unheard of, but in 2024 it's practically the norm, especially for action movies. We've gotten so accustomed to the addition of graphic enhancements to movies that we almost don't even notice anymore. Many blockbusters are specifically shot in the same way that Sky Captain was, with differing results. Now, I'm not saying that this is the ultimate superior method, but I am saying that it's pretty cool when it works. Sky Captain is, of course, not the first or only movie to ever take this approach, but, in my opinion, it's one of the first to do it very well. Each and every scene is composed in a distinct, intentional way. Some of the very best of them are featured very early on in the movie, right after the initial roll credits in fact, as the spotlights of New York light up a cloudy sky and brighten the Zeppelins flying above the city. It's an effective way to immediately establish what Conran's trying to do. Really capture the nostalgic look and feel of a movie like, say, King Kong for instance. And the references to old Hollywood don't stop there. This film is packed to the absolute brim with homages, like the antagonistic robots based off of an old Superman cartoon, the Buck Rogers comics on display at various points, and even Godzilla himself making a brief appearance. These are just a few of the many examples of Easter eggs that Sky Captain contains, all of them further indicating the reverence for the past works of Tinseltown that Conran has. But back to the aesthetics. Whether it's the previously mentioned gray skies of the city, a dense jungle, a snowy mountaintop, or a dark cave, the backgrounds are always interesting and engaging. Equally fun are the action scenes featured throughout, my personal favorite of which sees Sky Captain and Goopy here chasing an ornithopter through the packed streets of the city. Did you know that this thing is called an ornithopter? Do you know what an ornithopter is? Yeah, I had no idea until I started doing research for the script. Isn't that cool? Yeah, just anything that flaps its wings. Isn't that neat? I kinda want one. Cool robot birds aside, there are plenty of fun escapades in the movie. Whether it's a dogfight in the air, or a, what do you call underwater combat? Sea lion fight? A sea lion fight in the ocean, or hand-to-hand combat, there's a good amount of action to marvel at throughout. And every single set piece is made that much more impactful thanks to Edward Shearer's fantastic score. He too understood the film's appreciation for the past, and thus created a soundtrack that would fit right in with any Golden Age classic. Standouts include the imposing song The Robot Army, the sweeping Flight to Nepal, and even a really nice version of Over the Rainbow, performed over the film's end credits by Jane Monheit.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high.
Every track does a nice job of adding to the mix of visual and audible fun being had on screen at any given time in the movie. All of this is to say that Sky Captain is absolutely deserving of its status as a cult classic film. As time has passed, it seems that the masses have shifted their opinions and now hold it in a much higher regard. And look, it's not like people hated it in 2004. I mean, Roger Ebert himself gave it 4 out of 4 stars, and who are we to argue with the movie review guy?
I haven't had this much fun at the movies in a long time, and I give Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow 4 stars. It's one of the year's best, and I'm Roger Ebert, ABC7 News.
Kerry Conran didn't do a ton of movies after Sky Captain, and I think that's a shame because I truly believe he was a visionary that was way ahead of his time. Sky Captain is an example of the past, present, and future meeting all at once. It pays homage to the works of the past in its visual style and flair. It uses technology available at the time to create an entirely new visual identity. And in doing so, it creates a backdrop for how Hollywood will go on to create some of its most beloved and lucrative features ever. It's not perfect by any stretch, but I believe this movie is both a fun watch in and of itself, and is also a fascinating look at an artist being way ahead of the curve. I doubt Kerry Conran's ever going to see this video, but I hope he knows that there are people out there that love the world he created and absolutely see the vision that he had. So thanks, Kerry, and everybody else that was involved in creating this movie, for, maybe unintentionally, but assuredly, giving us a true glimpse into Thanks for watching, folks. I really appreciate y'all giving me the time of day and letting me talk at length about a movie that came out 20 years ago that not a lot of people seem to like very much. If you want to hear me talk more about stuff, feel free to check out any of the other videos on my channel. Or feel free to hit me up on Twitter and we can talk about stuff there. I like talking, it's kind of my thing. I appreciate y'all very much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.